Papa. It's by your grace I woke up this morning. It's by your grace. Those people who have died today, I am no greater than them. Those people in the mortuary, I am no cooling than them. I am alive today, Papa. It's by your grace I woke up this morning. It's by your grace.
Hello everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wanko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And as usual, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. This episode is going to address two critical things. One is my final discussion on the Wigwe situation and his acquisition of Access Bank. The other part is the agitations and demonstrations going on around Nigeria today. Igbos have no business in this demonstration, and I'll explain to you my reasons why. Those agitations include agitations against Bola Ahmed Tinubu's nepotism and appointing unqualified people to run major agencies, which is nothing but ways of funneling away resources. I'm just going to play a 4-minute segment on an international news opinion on that corruption deal in Nigeria. Then I'll get into the Herbert Wigwe and the main topic, which is the agitations and how it affects the Igbos.
Bola Tinubu is under fire again, this time over allegations of nepotism. He recently announced a shake-up in Nigeria's Federal Housing Authority. And he's appointed this man as the new MD/CEO, Oyetunde Ojo. He's a former Nigerian MP. He served from 2011 to 2015, but he failed to get re-elected in the 2015 election. After that, he turned to business, reportedly in the oil and gas sector. And now he's the CEO of a housing authority. What's his qualification? Apparently, over a decade's worth of experience in the housing and hospitality industries. That's what the Nigerian government said while appointing him. But exactly when did this happen? When did he get the time to acquire this decade's worth of housing experience? It remains a mystery. But the Nigerian government insists that he is the best man for the job. Of course, they need to hype up his credentials to deflect from his other big achievement. And what's that? Being married to Fola Shade Tinubu, the oldest daughter of President Bola Tinubu. Nepotism is never good for optics after all, and the last thing Tinubu needs is another scandal. The Nigerian president has been racking up controversies ever since he took office. The last one was about an oil field, an offshore oil block called OPL 245. It was a disputed field bought by European oil giants Eni and Shell. There were corruption allegations. Nigeria had sued the oil companies. The case was pending in international tribunals, but last month, the president of Nigeria restored the fields to the Europeans. He ended all legal disputes over the offshore field and called for the matter to be resolved amicably. Now you can choose to look at this as Tinubu moving forward, as him dropping a long dispute and getting back to business. Or you may wonder about the timing. Eni, one of the European oil firms involved here, signed another deal recently. This happened a few months ago. They sold their Nigerian onshore assets to a local firm, a firm called Onado PLC. The sale was very beneficial for the Nigerian oil company. Its total oil reserves doubled after it bought Eni's assets. And guess who is the chief executive of the Onado group? A man called Adewale Tinubu, or Wale as he's popularly known. The last name is not a coincidence. He is related to the Nigerian president too. He is the president's nephew. So a European oil company sells its business to Tinubu's nephew. The nephew's company benefits, and Nigeria drops litigation against the Europeans soon after. What does that sound like to you? Allegations of nepotism and corruption are hounding the president. Tinubu became president last year. He took office in the month of May. His government had to release a supplementary budget to allocate resources for this year, and this happened in November. The budget came in November. But while the budget was being discussed, an anomaly came to light. Money was earmarked for a presidential yacht, a princely sum of 5 billion naira. That's about $3.5 million US. Now, Nigeria is an economic powerhouse, but it's still a developing nation. There is massive wealth inequality. People are struggling with the cost of living crisis and reeling after the government reduced fuel subsidies last year. In this environment, President Bola Tinubu was buying a yacht on the taxpayers' dime. You can imagine the uproar. Nigerians were furious. So were opposition lawmakers. They forced the government to divert the yacht money. It was funneled into a student loan fund instead. But you see, the yacht had already been delivered by then to the Nigerian Navy. So now they have to find a way to pay for the luxury boat. And these are just some of the controversies that have dogged Tinubu since he took office. There are others as well, and by the looks of it, there will be more to come. Hopefully, Nigeria will continue to progress despite the extravagance of its president and the enrichment of his family.
And on that note, as Yorubas will say, Adura Logba Keshami, which translates to, she ended her report with a prayer. Let's say amen to that. Now, let's go straight into the Wigwe and Access Bank thing, finish it up real fast and get into my real topic.
Who can be extremely innovative in today's market. But I think still so much more needs to be done. And one of the things we're doing in Access is making sure that we take a lot more people into African FinTech Foundry, support them, all right, give them some capital, insofar as there's value in the product that they're creating. So there's still so much to be done. And I'm sure over the next couple of years, you'll see a lot more, much more than you've seen in the past couple of years.
To support my discussion on this, and it's not going to be a long, drawn-out one, I just want to play some sound bites from Bola Palmer, who is a very polished blogger. I like following on YouTube. I like to give you his perspective on the Wigwes and the Elumelus in Nigeria.
You're looking at it from this angle of, they should just do the right thing. That's what you're saying, right? So my question would be, what would be the right thing? If you were Tony Elumelu today, if you were Wigwe, and you were presented with an opportunity to purchase a bank that was number 69, and you had the opportunity to take it all the way to the top. You know the game, you know the politics of the game, you know the government policies and compliance, the game of government compliance and policies, which also includes things you have to do behind the scenes. The part I'm trying to bring into it is that it's an open marketplace. You have the opportunity, you have the resources, the relationship to purchase an Access Bank back in 2002. Or the same way that Tony Elumelu bought the, what's the name of that bank? That red bank. I forgot the name of the red bank.
Zenith.
Is it Zenith? Yeah. That bank, Sha. All the way that Otedola recently just purchased a majority stake in First Bank and is now the chairman of First Bank Holdings. Right? You have that opportunity, you have the resources. What would you do? Are you saying that you would turn it down because, I mean, like, what would that look like for you, sir? If it's an open marketplace, that's what I'm telling you. That now, lying, cheating, and stealing is what human beings do. I told you that, right? When it comes down to survival, right? When it comes down to survival, this is what human beings do. It doesn't matter if you're a pastor or a bishop or an angel, or they call you angel when you are given birth to. This is what people do, right? So everywhere across the world, though. But now imagine a country, right, where the country, an average person has to deal with currency that's deteriorating by more than 1,000 naira within the span of 1 year. So imagine the purchasing power of that money in their pocket, right? We're talking all 200 million people now, right? Right? And we know, you and I know that there's no jobs for people, right? It's not, when you consider all of the population, I'm saying, right? When you know that, it will start to make sense that people are going to steal. Young girls are going to yield to runs, doing runs. Naturally, just a matter of a natural behavior, sir, right? If we remove, oh, they should just do the right thing. No, they want to do the right thing, but man must eat. You see what I'm saying, sir? So if you look at it from that standpoint, right? Tony Elumelu did not fall out of the skies. They competed in that same environment and became the big guys that they are. If they stole billions, it's because they've worked hard to have access to that kind of billion. Were they wrong? They were wrong. Are the policies and the environment encouraging this bad behavior? Yes. Who are the people behind these policies? They are the likes of Bode George. They are more like them than the bankers. The bankers actually have to show up to work and actually present some type of value, even if fake it till you make it. They have to actually show that somebody is reporting to work, that there's money being exchanged in hand, that there's actually services, banking services. They actually have to show that. Granted, they also steal a lot of money by way of the system. You see what I'm saying, sir? So I'm looking at this holistically, not just let's just do the right thing. If we want to get stuck at let's just do the right thing, I already agree. We should do the right thing. But if we're going to solve this problem, it goes back to re-education, reorientation of the average person's mindset. Sir, if you make one gate man the boss of another gate man, Omar show behavior and so easy. We need to start checking people like Bode just like, yeah, thanks, but you're trying to incite us. All of una is the same thing. You are good at pointing out the problems. What is the solution here? The solution is clearly not going to be to remove Tony Elumelu or Tedola from where they are providing jobs for a whole lot of people. So
now, the reason it was important for me to play that segment from Bola Palmer is twofold. One is that, ironically, what he's saying in that video, which came out after my last one, kind of parallels some of the things I was saying in mine. And neither Bola Palmer nor myself is endorsing bad behavior. Neither one of us is saying that's the way things should be. But the fact is that that's the way things are and have been in Nigeria in my own lifetime when I started noticing, at least up till 1970, when the war ended, and a lot of games were played with the financial system to benefit certain people at the expense of other people. Those are facts. You don't have to like what I'm saying. And the name of my show, if you look up there, or up there, whichever way it is from where I'm sitting, it's called Bold Talk. The one thing I promise you is that I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna fabricate stories. But the other thing I promise you is that I'm going to tell you facts that should make you, if you're human, and if you have a conscience, regardless of what tribe you're from, to sit down and really self-search. Because I got a lot of pushback in the comment section of my last episode, or people who just inboxed me because they didn't have the guts to go in there and say it, so I could blast them right in front of everybody else reading. And unfortunately and sadly, to the last one, much of this pushback is coming from Southwesterners. What I did on Herbert Wigwe was not because he's from Ikwere, which their language and their culture is Igbo, but he's not from the 5 core Igbo states, but he's an Igbo man. What I did was I was looking at a man who took a bank that was number 65 in Nigeria and moved it to become the 5th largest bank in Africa, not in Nigeria, and a bank that plays on the world stage. In the process of doing that, he created jobs for Nigerians, not for Igbos. When I say he, because he was the main shareholder, but it's him and his team, which is made up of all tribes of Nigerians, but it's Access Bank. He also went on to build Wigwe University. Wigwe University is going to create jobs and create excellent education for Nigerians. Some of the things I read is that the tuition is too high. The tuition at Harvard is very high. Your child doesn't have to go to Harvard. Your child doesn't have to go to Wigwe University. What he said is that he'll create excellent education for people. He didn't say he'll create cheap education for people. Nigerians, including the ones who don't have much, are sending their children abroad where they are paying $20,000, $30,000 annually, $40,000. Here is a university in Nigeria that will save you money, even though it's not cheap. A question I have is, some of those people who are writing me because of their King Bola relationship at Intercontinental Bank with Herbert Wigwe and Imokwede, his partner, when they took the 16 billion naira loan from Intercontinental. And those stories are presenting Akingbola as an angel who did nothing wrong. I'm not saying he did something wrong or he didn't. But what I'm saying is that when you go out and read other stories, including the story from a court in the United Kingdom, where he was found guilty of embezzling hundreds of billions of naira from Intercontinental Bank, then I say to myself, the person who wrote an elaborate story and didn't put his name on it because he's a wimp, a bigoted wimp for that matter, that was accusing Imokwede and Herbert Wigwe, his partner, does he know Akingbola's history? And does he know that Access Bank with Imokwede and Wigwe were also suing Intercontinental Bank for recoveries? These are the things. That's why I said that story had a danger of a single story, telling one side of a story and leaving the rest of it out. And just on a broad basis, as Igbos will say, use your teeth to count your tongue. For all those Southwesterners that were cussing me out, literally, I asked them this question. Go and look at the history of Nigeria and what happened at the end of the war when the federal government gave Igbos 20 pounds. How fair was that if we want to talk about fairness? In recent times, go and look at how Dangote became the sole importer of cement and rice and those kind of things in Nigeria. Go and see others who that single move by the federal government destroyed their businesses. Now, those are systemic, bigoted moves by the federal government to undermine a segment of society while benefiting somebody from a different segment of society. But you don't talk about that. And your bigoted news distorting writers don't look into those kind of things. What happened between Herbert Wigwe, his partner Imokwede, and Intercontinental Bank and Akingbola happened between individuals. I'm not saying individuals should go taking advantage of others, but I'm saying if you want to be fair, let's write the whole stories. And in writing the whole stories, what's more wicked? Individuals taking advantage of individuals, or a system, a government, deliberately, covertly, or overtly hurting a segment of its society to benefit others? And you call yourself living in one Nigeria. The day you get ready to say the truth and follow the truth, regardless of where the truth leads, all of us following the truth, that's the day we'll start healing Nigeria. At this stage, I'm going to observe a 30-second quiet in memory of the Wigwes and Ogumbanjo. May their souls rest in peace. All I'm saying is this: the politicians that are stealing Nigeria's money, how much value added have they brought to the table? The Herbert Wigwes of Nigeria and the Lumelus of Nigeria and the Otedolas of Nigeria, the Adenugas of Nigeria, those people need to be given credit for bringing a lot of employment that the government is not able to provide, but also, more importantly, give them credit for taking the money they acquired, regardless of how you feel they acquired it, and adding value to the Nigerian economy. And compare them to the other cabal-pocketed millionaires and billionaires who have no real industry to show for how much they're adding value to people's lives. And that ends my discussion on Herbert Wigwe. And whatever you think about those discussions, that's your headache. I could move on. Now to the demonstrations going on in Nigeria. In the last week, we all saw a lot of agitation and demonstrations going on in Kano, in Minna, in Ibadan, and other parts of the Southwest. And I really support them. I like what they're doing. But there's also been questions about how come the Southeast is so quiet while this is going on. How come Igbos are not joining in the agitation and all that? Before I go into why Igbos are not joining, let me play you what Professor Yusuf, I think that's what his name is, a Fulani man, said about these agitations, and I'll come back and talk about why Igbos are not joining and the hypocrisy of Professor Yusuf.
The primary problem is that it doesn't even understand the cause. It's in denial. The primary cause of what we are going through today is the recklessness of this government and this president by suddenly removing fuel subsidy on the day he was inaugurated. That Tinubunomics is nothing but a very painful pill for everybody to die. The Minister of Finance, the Central Bank Governor, and the FIRS boss. The honest truth is that they do not know how to get out of this mess. This self-inflicted pain they've put this nation through. They don't know how to get us out of it. And we are warning them. Democracy means nothing to a hungry, angry, homeless man. Our people are dying. That is why in the north, we had the voices of our traditional rulers. And they should take it seriously. You remember when the First Lady visited the Emir of Kano 2 weeks ago? The Emir of Kano told her, "Go and tell Mr. President that our people are suffering. There is hunger in the land." It was a coded message. All traditional rulers in the north met in Kaduna 3 days ago, and they came out with a screaming headline all papers took 3 days ago, read by the Sultan of Sokoto. This country is sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
Nonsense. So when Igbo traditional rulers go to Aso Rock, to President Buhari, and now to President Tinubu, and appeal to them to release Nnamdi Kanu, who has been declared innocent by the courts of Nigeria, to release him, Professor Yusuf and the traditional rulers in the north say nothing. But now it should be national emergency because traditional rulers in the north feel that we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. To hell with Professor Yusuf and to hell with the traditional rulers in the north and their hypocrisy.
All right, Prof, just a quick one before we let you go. You've mentioned the pulse of the nation and how traditional rulers are, speaking out. But a lot of people will say that we see more of this from the north and the southwest. Surprisingly, it's been rather curiously quiet from the southeast and the south-south. Would there be a reason for that? And if the agitation for better governance continues in the north and in the southwest, which ordinarily ought to be pro the president, do you think that there is a political implication for the president in all this? Very, very briefly, sir.
Yeah, I honestly don't know why the southeast is quiet, uncharacteristically quiet.
Now to the bane of my discussion today. Professor Yusuf is a hypocrite, an absolute hypocrite. He doesn't know why the southeast is quiet, uncharacteristically quiet. And now the bigots are either going to sign out or start typing their defense and attacks to me. In 1967, Fulanis in the north, coupled with a few other northerners they brainwashed, including the ones from Benue, and the Hausas, massacred Igbos in the north. 60 plus years later, Nigeria hasn't atoned for that atrocity against fellow Nigerians. Bigots won't like what I'm saying, but like I said, until you learn your history, keep on wasting your time. We're better off breaking up the damn country and everybody going their separate ways. That passed. Then the Civil War. The bigoted Fulani cabal brainwashed the rest of the country, even brainwashed our own cousins in neighboring Igbo areas. Brainwashed our own cousins, immediately created states to alienate our own cousins, Igbo cousins outside the core Igbo land. Created states to appease them, empower them, and alienate them and antagonize them against Igbos. they fought a war on Nigeria's side, the rest of the country, against the people who you pogromed in the north for doing nothing wrong. The sin of innocent Igbos killed in that war is that when the coup happened, that Igbos were the ones who led the coup. I would like to know how many Igbos, Nzogu and Ifeajuna, consulted about the coup before they planned the coup. I'll also like to know how many Yorubas, Ademolegun or whatever, the Yoruba person involved in that coup and later on Banjo, I'd like to know how many Yorubas were consulted by those two Yoruba officers to be involved in that coup. I'd also like to know how many Fulanis were consulted by the Fulani person who was involved and the other minorities. You massacred Igbos, and until this day, even among my non-Igbo friends in Nigeria, I really haven't seen anyone that talks from a position of remorse about what happened. Instead, with the brainwash and the tribalistic poison that generations before have fed, not a single non-Igbo Nigerian has come to grips with the fact that that war and the reason the Fulani cabal sold to Nigerians to go and massacre Igbos was a lie because they felt threatened by the success of Igbos. That's all that it was. You can get angry all you want, but the truth shall set you free. Then came the end of the war. General Gowon promised no victors and no vanquished. Igbos continue to be treated in Nigeria like if they were vanquished, covertly and overtly. Go to Igbo land, compare it to the rest of the country. There is hardly any federal government capital project presence in Igbo land. And what Igbos get in return, because their area is left undeveloped by the federal money, while all the money is being spent in other parts of the country, they go out to greener pastures to do what they do best and earn. Jealousy follows. And bigots tell them, why can't you come here and buy everything? Why can't you stay in your part of the country? That's what we get in return for the discrimination of a government that's an open book, that anybody that has guilt can stand up and say this is wrong, but nobody is saying that. And even Igbos are not saying it because they want to be friends with Yorubas, they want to be friends with Fulanis, they want to give the lip service. Privately, every Igbo person is saying exactly what I'm saying now. Never mind that you eat and dine with them and they pretend like everything is honky-dory. The person you should trust is me, because I'm saying it to your face and you know where I stand. I'm not taking it against you, the person, but I'm taking it against the system, which your people are included in, that system that oppresses Igbos. And this idiot called Professor Yusuf is wondering why Igbos are quiet and not demonstrating. But did he ever say a word about the Python dance? When Igbos were demonstrating and agitating against what sufferings are going on in Igbo land, and the Nigerian army went into Umuahia and massacred Igbos, killed Nnamdi Kanu's father in the process, whether it's immediately or aftermath, but that's what humiliated and killed that man. As I speak here, Nnamdi Kanu has been in jail for what Boko Haram is doing And Sunday Igbo did in the West, but they're all free people. But Nnamdi Kanu is in jail. Why does it have to be Igbos saying let Nnamdi Kanu go? Why can't Professor Yusuf, in his dissertation to Nigeria on Arise TV, bring up Nnamdi Kanu and say the wrong involved in what's going on? And now this will shock you. He's criticizing Tinubu's government. And for once, let me tell him that Tinubu's government is not doing any worse than Buhari did when it came to nepotism. The same nepotism you are accusing the Tinubu administration for is the same nepotism that Buhari was practicing, and you ignored it and everything was fine and hunky-dory. The reason Igbos are not in the streets is that the day Igbos step in the streets to agitate, the guns will come out and you'll start shooting, because those are your punching bags in Nigeria, and Igbos are tired of being killed for Nigeria, for people who don't appreciate the sufferings Igbos have gone through to keep this damn country one united, fair, equitable country. It was Aguiyi-Ironsi that kept Nigeria together and did not have the coups take over and do whatever they wanted to do. It wasn't a Yoruba or a Fulani person. It was Aguiyi-Ironsi that stopped and averted the 1966 January coup. That's not in your history. That's not in your mindset. It's time to call a spade a spade. It was Odimegwu Ojukwu that stopped Nzogu from running over northern Nigeria. If Odimegwu Ojukwu had allowed Nzogu, Nzogu would have run over the north. He was an Igbo man, but no, you don't want to see that history. My job is to keep aggravating you until you sit down and soul search and say, why does this man keep saying the same thing about this damn Biafra nonsense? Igbo say, "Watakiri na ebe akwa na arụ aka, ma nne ya nọhọ ebe ahụ, nne ya nọ ebe ahụ." When a kid keeps crying and pointing in a certain direction, if the mom is not there, the dad is there. Go and sit down and open-mindedly, with an honest mind, think about what I'm saying. It's the sadness of Nigeria, the danger of a single story. Everybody talks from the standpoint of how their tribe benefits. The only tribe in this country that has talked and fought for the real unity of Nigeria and killed in the process are Igbos. And Igbos are not going to be killed again. So you do your demonstrations against Tinubu. Igbos are not going to do it. When they killed us in the process of voting and voting right to stop Tinubu from being president, they killed Igbos in Lagos. How many of you spoke up on it? You joined the process of Igbos want to take over, and you were the ones agitated in Lagos that you don't want Igbos to vote against any candidate that Lagosian powerhouses don't support. And the candidate they supported is Tinubu. Enjoy your hunger. Enjoy your unemployment. Enjoy the rise in dollars. Enjoy the high prices of gas. If anybody is equipped to handle this hardship, Igbos have been going through it a lot. We know how to survive it. Welcome to the real way of being Nigeria, suffering. You haven't seen anything yet. The next one that's going to hit the whole country and you wake up is the kidnapping. It has entered Lagos. You ain't seen nothing yet. It's only the beginning. Don't put heads together and fight these things. Keep fighting the wrong war, which is Igbos this and Igbos that. Don't fight the real monster in the house.
Nigeria of nowadays, we are suffering. People come on Gary, we can't buy Gary again. Gary has come as a cocaine. Food we can't buy, rice we can't buy. We can't feed our child again because there is no money. To buy food is a problem. To buy clothes is a problem. To buy food is a problem. To get money is a problem. Another person carry rope to hang his neck and kill himself because of suffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bull Talk on Allen TV. And until Nigerians decide to tell ourselves the truth, good night and God bless.
Lórúkọ Jésù.